Welcome back to SharePoint Charts Complete Training. In this session, we're going to look at how to do two very similar kinds of charts. Those are polar charts and radar charts. Both of these have similar characteristics to pie charts. This is a variation on that, and you can see it has a different kind of a look. So it's a way for you to visualize your data in an interesting way that would contrast with just the standard pie chart that everyone's used to. So let's go ahead and dig in. Okay, you want to go ahead and have your training content open. You can see a preview. This is showing a polar chart, also known as a polar area chart. And this gives you a little bit idea of what we're going to build. This training is going to use a data set from a list that we already created in the previous training, which was on pie charts and donut charts. There is a link to that Excel if you haven't done that training and need to create the list. That won't be covered in this training. You can refer back to the previous training if you still need to do that. So let's go ahead and go to our SharePoint Charts training site. I'm going to go back to the donut chart link because I know that uses the list that has the data I want for this training. So on my view selector, I'm going to go to all items, and let's start by making a new view, which is going to be for my polar chart. So I'll do save view as, and I'll call this polar, and save. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and create the one for the radar chart while I'm at it. So I'll do back to all items and then save view as polar. Radar. Sorry, getting these names mixed up. Okay, so we got polar and radar. Okay. So what I need is that URL, so I'm just going to edit my view and hit OK, and then I'll get a friendly URL, and let's go back to the home page. I want to make handy links to that, so I'll go ahead and edit my quick links web part, and let's go ahead and paste that in. So this will be radar chart, and then I'll go in here, and probably the closest thing I'm going to find is some kind of pie chart diagram. That's fine. I'm not going to be too picky here because it could be hard to find something that looks like that. I'm just going to do circle. Okay, there's radar chart. And I want one more. This is for polar. I just need to change where it says radar to polar, since that's what I called it. Add polar. And I'll just choose a circle. Since I don't have anything else readily available, I'll do a solid circle this time. Okay. And then I'm going to click on these links, move it down to the end. We're going to do the polar chart first. Okay, I got my links set up. So there's the view for the polar chart. Okay, so now let's go ahead and open the template. If you go to your training, those templates are linked. So I'm going to open the polar chart template, and there's a preview of what that can look like. As with the other ones, you can check out some different theme options to see what those look like. We're just going to work from theme 1. So if we go down to the instructions first, it's going to tell us what it needs is a series of number fields. We need to know how many number fields are going to be used. The dummy data shows 12, but that's not what we're charting. We're charting on these sales categories. We have 7, so we need to make that adjustment first. So I'll go to SP fields, change that to 7, And the next thing I should do is go ahead and fill in those field names. Also, I'm going to turn off background gradient. We're not going to cover that in this training. We'll just go with a solid background color, and I can change the background color, by the way. I can make that like a Alice blue. That's what I'll do in this case. Okay, so I need to fill in my field name. So that was electronics, software, then services. Electronics, software, services, and then furniture, subscriptions, appliances. And then the last one was supplies. Okay, and then I don't want it to say my polar chart. I want it to say category sales. Okay, let's go ahead and copy our template and let's see if we've got something going. So I'll do format current view, advanced mode, select all, copy, and save. There we go. So this is showing, I've got a key on the side and it tells me based on the colors which were automatically assigned. Okay, that blue is electronics, the next one's software, then services, etc. So the bigger that wedge in terms of how far out it goes, it's going using this vertical scale. Now the difference between this and a pie chart, those wedges have the same area around the chart, they just change in terms of how far out they go. So it's just a variation on the pie chart concept. Now let's look back at some of our settings which can be adjusted. You can adjust the scale ring color, and you can do that by going to scale color. Just as an example, let's set those to a dark green. You'll see it in the preview. I can copy the template over, and let's just take a look and see what that looks like. Okay, now they're dark green. I can adjust the font size. Maybe I want to make that a little bit bigger, make it easier to read. So I could go to font size and change that, and that will make a little bit of an adjustment there. So you can just keep reapplying your template and saving, and you'll see those changes and get those updates. And then a key one here is opacity. Also, you can think of that as transparency. And that has to do with the scale and the wedges. The wedges are sitting on top of that scale, and we want to see the numbers in the scale especially show through. But you can try adjusting that somewhat. You'll see it have a little bit of a different effect. So if I go for a higher opacity level, it's going to have darker colors. The scale is going to be faded a little bit. So let's see what that looks like. And I just reapply my template. So that's the type of thing that you may want to tweak according to your own preferences. The key can show wherever we want. Right now it's set on the right side, but I can set that to be in another area, also known as the legend. So maybe I want to show that on the bottom instead. So if I copy that, it will move that for me. And then these colors are automatically assigned. Generally, it's easiest to work with those, but you do have the ability to assign wedge colors. If you're going to do that, you would provide a comma delimited list of colors. For example, you'd say red, comma green, comma blue, etc. There's some information about that in the notes section. In fact, it looks like you can give it HTML hex colors. Normally that's something you wouldn't necessarily need to do, but that is an option available if you want to make that type of adjustment. So there's other settings you can adjust. If we look at this, generally we want it to fill the screen. For the most part, that does fill the screen pretty well, so I'd be inclined to leave that as is, but that is the general concept of a polar chart, otherwise known as the polar area chart. So you can play around with the settings to get a look you want. You may want to reach for this chart template in a situation where you've got data, as in this case, where you might otherwise be doing a pie chart. So it's just a different variation on that concept. Okay, so now let's go ahead and move on, and we're going to do the radar chart. Okay, so let's go ahead and close this template window, and now I'm going to go over to my radar chart template, and you can see it's similar. In this case, we have points which are mapped out, and it looks like a spider web. In fact, sometimes you will see this referred to as a spider chart. So it's the similar kind of concept, just draws it out in a slightly different way. Okay, so just like before, you can view some of the different theme options just to get an idea of how you might make this look. And I'm going to go ahead and put in my field names and the net amount of fields like I did before. So the configuration on this chart is very similar, and that's in fact why we're covering these charts together in this training today. Okay, so I'm going to adjust the canvas background color again. We'll go for Alice Blue, and then let's go ahead and enter our fields. Okay, so I need to do the same thing I did before. So electronics, software, services. Okay, then furniture, subscriptions, appliances. And supplies. And I need to change my chart title. Category sales. Okay, and let's go ahead and copy our template. Let's see if we have something working. So I go to the view selector, format current view, advanced mode, select all, paste, and save. There we go. So you can see it fills in an area. Basically, it connects these dots, and it gives us a kind of a shape. It tells us, where does the data skew to? You're going to see the shape leaning, if you will, sort of in the direction to the area that's biggest. In this case, that's software and services. You can see, you could say that this shape sort of leans in that direction. So it's just a different way to visualize that concept. Just like before, we have settings for the colors in there. So in particular, we may want to do things like adjust the fill in the middle, and that is inner BG, as in inner background color. So maybe I want to go more for green. Okay, so if I copy that over, you'll see I get a different kind of a look. Just paste over that, and there we have a green background. Just like the other one, I can do things like adjust the fonts. Now in this case, instead of having a key, the labels are actually plotted right to the outside of the chart. So you can see each point corresponds to that label. So it's a little bit more direct in terms of showing you where things are. The other thing is we don't have all those multiple colors. We're just using one color in here for all of that. So let's try changing some line colors just to see a different look on that. I can go back over here, and then this is the scale color that I might want to adjust. Let's go for a navy blue for the scale color, and then copy the template, and then I am going to apply that here. And there you go. So in this case, instead of a circle, it is going to be a shape that has exactly the number of sides as the number of fields that you provide. So in other words, if you were doing 5 categories, you would see a pentagon. In this case, we've got 7. So It's just an interesting, different kind of a look. And again, this is a kind of a diagram that lends itself well to a situation where you may otherwise be doing a pie chart. These are closely related, so this is something where you can just create additional views in that same list that's got your pie chart data, and now you have something new and interesting to show your team. So that was a quick one. I hope you found that interesting. If you're looking for something a little bit different and you're getting a bit bored with just always turning to a plain vanilla pie chart, now you have two closely related but much more interesting diagrams which you could use as a variation on that, as a way to visualize that data. So I hope you like that, and I hope you're able to use that with your own data for your organization and impress your users. Good luck.